They look at Uber's.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are here for episode 3 of the Primal podcast. It is MLP Dota and John X Fire. John, I have to say, first of all, apologies. We did miss last week, which is not nice.
Mm,
I didn't say
that we
anything
did.
about it, neither did you. Uh,
hmm
had to miss it. There was some family drama going on. Secondly, you've pointed out that my webcam looks foggy. Probably due to the fact that it's a very, very sunny day and I haven't got any proper lighting, so there's that. But that can always be sorted out later on. Thirdly, John, it's good to have you back. How are you feeling, sir?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. We haven't had too much to cast for the past few days. It has been a bit slow in that sense. Like, I personally haven't been doing too much. I've been playing video games, reading news, following a couple of games, but not too in depth. Because we do have stuff coming up soon, which is very
Hmm.
exciting because it's a region you love to cover and you love to talk big about. So that's going to be exciting to see it really unfold.
That's very true, John. We are going to be and I do want to give a shout out to those guys. I'll probably do it a bit later on, but we are going to be casting an Oceanic League. I believe on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. So we're casting an Oceanic League tomorrow. We're doing 2 days a week. For the first week, it is going to be Wednesday and Thursday we're doing. So there's that. And that should be fun, by the way, John. I watched the first day, and the games, as expected, were fantastic because it is
Mm.
Australian Dota, and it's going to be a new experience for you, John. I don't think you believe me when I say Australian Dota is very different. Uh, it's going to be a very, very new experience. However, there are some things we wanted to talk about for now, and you especially seem to be very intrigued about Valorant.
Oh yeah, there's a lot going on with game. It's like there was a lot of commotion when it was announced. There's a lot of commotion on Twitch for people to get those beta keys, and there's a lot of commotion for people to play the game. I'm not even interested in the game itself. I really don't care about the game. It's for me, it just looks like a Dirty Bomb ripoff. If any of you remember Dirty Bomb, which I'm sure most of you won't. Like Dirty Bomb is a very dead game, but it was pretty fun.
Hmm.
And the key thing with Valorant now, I'm not sure if you've heard about this. The way its anti-cheat works. So this is something Riot was advertising from the get-go, right? That the anti-cheat would be the best anti-cheat in its class. It's going to stop all the hacks. They're advertising it as basically unhacked. In
Hmm.
contrast to something like uh, Steam's Valve anti-cheat, which has been a bit iffy with CS:GO, they say this one's going to work well. The issue it has is people have figured out that the Vanguard anti-cheat Riot's using runs them in the background whether or not Valorant is on. Right, so
Uh
it's always on in the back. It's on by the time you boot your PC.
oh.
It runs like a driver. So it's running on ring 0, which is very
Hmm.
low level code. Starts up and Riot's saying like it's designed that way. It's supposed to be that way. But the question is, do you trust Riot with that kind of access to your computer?
No. Obviously no, John. I don't trust anyone with that access to my computer, to be honest. Uh,
Oh
but Riot, of all things, no, God, no. That's disgusting.
yeah.
I'd have to throw the PC out, buy a new one. Jesus Christ, it's been stained by
Oh
the
yeah. I mean, it's super low level stuff. Like on paper, it can detect whatever you're doing. Like if they wanted to inject something in that kernel driver, it can get a lot more. Right now, Riot claims it's not sending back data until the game runs, but the fact that it's running in the background anyway is
That's
highly
terrible.
suspect.
Yeah.
No, absolutely is.
Do you think it'll even is that going to work as an anti-cheat system anyway? Like, is it going to be that much better than what's out there already?
On the one hand, giving Riot the benefit of the doubt here is no other anti cheat works this way, right? So
Right.
every other anti cheat works when you start the game up and
Mm.
it runs from there. When you do insert it this way, you remove a lot of loopholes for any sort of hack or exploit to go into the game. via injections or via EXEs you open separately, it will be pulled out because it's always running in the back. It's going to detect that it opened and
Right.
it's trying to access stuff in the game. I I honestly don't think that's going to be enough to stop people from hacking though. Like people find ways. It's just the way it
Yeah.
is. It's the same thing with Rule 34. If someone wants it done, it's going to happen. Whether it be cheats or porn, it's going to happen. So
Right.
nothing's going to stop that. And I don't think giving this kind of access to let's face it, Riot is owned by Tencent, and Tencent is Chinese government owned. I would not willingly give that to any company, but Riot's especially a big no-no.
I can't disagree with you on that, John. I can't. It's been, there's been some questionable stuff going on around those, around those things. Anyway, I don't want to go too far into Tencent. I mean, anyone that doesn't know about Tencent could always probably, look up what Tencent does and the controversies around them. I would like to talk about the actual game itself, though, John. Have you watched it much? This new game, Valorant.
I've watched a couple of streams, not to get the drops, not to get any of those drops. Not interested in playing the game. I
Uh,
have taken a look in how it runs. I have to say I'm not interested. It reminds me of when Overwatch was coming out. Everyone was losing their minds over Blizzard making a shooter.
mm,
Everyone's like, "Oh, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be lighthearted." And to be fair, Valorant is not Overwatch, right? It is targeting CS:GO much more. It's targeting that kind of gunplay and pacing. It doesn't look appealing to me. Then if I wanted to play something like CS:GO, I'd play CS:GO.
yeah, I think it's kind of ridiculous at this point that Riot literally gets away with copying every other game. Like they just copy another game. They release it as if it's their own by adding their own shitty characters from League of Legends. And everyone loses their minds over it. Like they've created the newest big thing. Can they make a game that hasn't been copied? Is my question. That's what would impress me the most. You know, just make your own fucking game. Come up with your own idea. I mean, they literally. I mean, you look at it and you go, "Well, that's CS:GO," but it kind of looks like Overwatch with all the magic abilities, and then there's it's kind of also like TF2 in the cartoonish kind of way, right? Like it's like when do they sit there and go, all right, we could make our own concepts and come up with our own with our own games. It's kind of ridiculous now. It's a
Yeah.
joke. Riot, you're a game developing company, right? Part of game development is coming up with the idea. Am I wrong? I mean, they
No,
copy
no, you're
Dota.
not.
They copy
Oh
Dota.
yeah,
They copy auto chess. What else do they copy? I mean, they're copying. They're making another card game, right? They're making a card game, if I'm correct, aren't
oh
they?
yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah.
making a
That,
card
I
game.
believe they are.
So basically, they copied Hearthstone and essentially copied Artifact because that's the only reason they're really doing it. We all know that. Um, and now they've made a fucking CS:GO clone, CS:GO slash Overwatch clone. I mean, it's just that's what pisses me off the most, John. And people lose their minds over these
Oh
games
yeah.
as if they're the most unique games that have ever been created by a company. They're literally, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's
It
ridiculous.
really is. It really is. I mean, you mentioned it. The company was started by its foundation has been copying. You have to admit that. Like everyone remembers Pendragon if you play Dota 2,
Yeah, what
rather
a
Dota
dickhead.
1. You remember that time. And the best thing to come out of that is that we got Ice Frog. So hey, we got probably the best game designer in the field, but
Not probably the best.
absolutely right. The best. Even until now, like I know Gabe is actually heavily biased, where it's just playing Dota 2 all day. But yeah, Riot, yeah, the saddest thing about Valorant, right? It's that you hear these stories about streamers playing it and they're not actually sponsored. They're not sponsored to talk about Valorant. A lot of these guys, they're not being paid to talk about it, but it's gotten so much steam just from Riot's player base, and this is what frustrates me. Even if you ignore how the game itself is, Valorant will be a success financially and
Right.
by game metric.
It
It's going
will
to be a
be.
big success, but I don't think it would deserve it. If Riot wasn't making the game, it would not. I think you'd see a lot more criticisms if it wasn't Riot.
Well, it's basically back to the whole, and we've talked about this personally so many times, but Valve doesn't advertise their games,
Oh yeah.
right? And Riot advertises the living shit out of their games. Which is quite ironic when you think about it. Like, they're copying Valve's games, but then they're the ones advertising them where Valve isn't. Valve is just organically letting them grow. I mean, it's just, that's really the only way they're getting away with all this crap. They're not making their own games. Well, they are
Mm,
making their games. It's just not their own games. And they'll just
mm.
advertise the living shit out of it as if, it's their own unique concept. And long behold, the
Ah.
12-year-olds that are League of Legends fans and Riot fans, they just join in. They're just like, wow, this game is so cool. I've never seen a game like this. It's
Uh,
just, it's pathetic, John. Don't even call yourself a game designer. You can't be called a game designer.
oh
Don't
god.
don't say that. Just, you're a game cop. Like, what's another word for copy? Like,
Plagiarizer?
you're essentially like you're a game plagiarizer. That's what you are, and you're very good at it, Ryan.
Oh, they are.
You're the best in the business.
Oh,
But
they
don't get it
definitely are.
wrong. You're not developing games, right? You're plagiarizing games. But all power to you, because nobody else is doing anything about it,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's a
Like
business, right?
definitely, and they make big bucks. Like
Yeah,
they get so much money from their player base by their monetization. They started League of Legends with one of the first instances of really microtransactions. You buy heroes, you buy runes, buy this and that, right? Like they were the first ones, one of the first big ones, really in
yeah,
that microtransaction market. So if you hate the ecosystem for free to play games, you can kind of point your fingers to Riot for the most
yeah.
part. Like not
But
completely, to be fair, but yeah, you could blame Riot for most of it.
yeah, fuck, I really don't like Riot, John. I just don't
Ah,
like them. They just rub me the wrong way. Always have.
yeah, really do. They really
I'm ashamed to say that I've played about 2 games of League of Legends. It was about 10 years ago. When it first came out, I remember Hon was coming out, and
Mm,
this was back when we were still playing Dota 1,
mm,
and Hon was about to come out, but League of Legends had already been out by that point.
yeah.
And one of my mates said to me, hey, there's this Dota clone called League of Legends. You should come play it. The graphics are a lot better, because they were back in those days, right?
Yeah,
So I was
yeah. They
like, I don't
definitely were.
know. I'm pretty loyal to Dota. Like, I don't think I want to play a different. I don't want to play a clone of Dota. Why wouldn't I just play Dota? And they're just like, nah,
Yeah.
just try it. And I played 2 games, and it was literally when I went to click to deny a creep,
Yeah.
and it did nothing. And I thought maybe I misclicked. Maybe there's a different. So I went to deny another creep, and it again did nothing. And this was my housemate, by the way, right? So I look over to my housemate. I'm like, hey, the creeps aren't denying. Have I unticked an option or something? Do I need to tick an option? He goes, no, you can't deny creeps in this game. You can't deny creeps in this game. Well, forget about it. I just left the game. Forget about this crap. Never playing that again. I mean, what a low skill ceiling. What a garbage game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a wild time when League released. I remember that. I wasn't too big on it. I think I actually played it way after release because I was in Singapore and staying over at a friend's place. We were playing video games. We were mainly playing Supreme Commander, but on like one occasion, he said, "Hey, you know what? Let's play a game of League." So I installed it. We played it. And it was strange for me because the way the heroes were moving, and this was when Dota 2 was already out. It's super fast. It was way faster than you'd expect. It's like it
Yeah,
feels like going from hit scan to something with bullet travel, right? Like it's very different play,
right.
and I just found it really floaty. Floaty is not the word, but really cartoonish to play.
Mm. There is something else I wanted to talk about, John. Just quickly, because Jay Gushy is in the chat. By the way, hello, Roto Retro, Tostrus, Jay Gushy. Nice to see you all again.
Yo.
I I'm a bit upset to say this, John, but I promised Jay Gushy that I would release an Earth Spirit guide. Haven't done it. Uh, there's a reason I haven't done it, John.
Yeah.
And I
What
truly
is it?
believe right now, while Earth Spirit has become more playable,
Mm-hmm.
it seems as though as these patches have gone on, he's become garbage again. I don't know. He just seems garbage. It's just like when it first happened, when the changes first happened, I
Mm,
posted John a 10 win streak on ES. That
mm,
turned into an 11 win streak. Then I lost and I made another 6 win streak, and then I
mm-hmm.
don't know what happened after that. But I've been playing it for a couple days. It just seems garbage again. It seems lackluster.
I think it's that initial wave when people are just playing whatever they want. Like when a patch just drops, so they just jump in whatever changed. And Earth Spirit, if you know how to play the hero, of course, it just kind of maximizes with that. But as the patch stabilizes, I mean, I told you when it came out, right? I highly doubted Earth Spirit was back. Like you won a good amount, and I think it is in a better spot. Say it's completely back,
Nah,
it's
it's
rough. Like
not.
the numbers just don't line up. The numbers
It,
don't
it
line up. You know,
it's a
it's
niche pick at
it really
at
is.
best. It only fits into certain drafts. It's as simple as that. Like if you can get like a really fast paced kind of lineup, it feels pretty good. And if your team decides they're gonna choose fucking AM safe lane, Medusa mid lane, and fucking whatever other passive off lane you could think of, it's just dead, dead in the
Oh
water,
yeah.
does nothing.
Oh yeah.
Um, Hence why it's been delayed. Now I am still planning to do it, but
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any point, John. The point is to gain MMR. And I don't know if people can really game MMR with this hero right now. It's not good enough. I
I
think
mean, I think you can, but it's those cases where if you were going to gain MMR with Earth Spirit, you would probably gain MMR with Witch Doctor mid. It's
right.
those cases where I think the average player would be better off playing something else if they want to improve their at the very least MMR. Then again, I look, you've been trying to climb for a while. I just kind of gave up because I became happier when I just played casual. I'd play a
Yeah.
game every now and again with friends who'd be playing to just screw around, and that would be more fun. There was a
Yeah.
time where I would try to grind. I can't keep up with it like you can. My mindset's very different, so I'd say if you are wanting to climb and you want to climb sanely, go with something a bit more solid. Yeah.
I don't know. The thing is, I was actually watching a video yesterday.
Yeah.
Funny you bring this up about climbing in MMR. And I did notice this recently. So I was binging a lot of Dota. Like, and
Mhm.
you would have seen, John. I was on a lot,
Yeah.
right, the past
Yeah.
couple weeks, and it was due to the fact that I was winning so much to begin with, and I was just
Mhm.
on a hot streak. So I thought I was in the zone. Let me keep playing because I'm feeling really good about this new patch, right?
Mhm.
And then I started losing. And
Yeah.
man, did I lose, John. Holy shit, I lost a lot of games. And because it was it's that gamblers, like, the way gamblers work, right? You lose, so you've got to win it back. So that's
Mhm.
what happened to me, right? I went back into
Yeah.
that. I've lost too many games. Now I have to gain that MMR back. And it only
Yeah.
led to worse results. But what I found was those times when I did gain MMR, and even now, it was when I was logging on in a really good mood, right? I was a
Mm.
very happy person when I logged on, and I didn't binge play it, right? I would
Mhm.
play, maybe 2, 3 games a day, and I'd
Yeah.
log off. That would be it. Like, if I
Yeah.
felt any form of tilt coming, I would just log off straight away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because,
Definitely.
that's the way to gain MMR as far as I'm concerned,
Mm.
right?
No, I
Because
agree. I agree.
you and me, we've been playing Dota for a very long. I mean, I've been playing for like since Dota 1. We're talking 15
Yeah.
plus
Yeah.
years now.
Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
know the game like the back of my hand, but it's if you binge play it and you get tilted and you let people get to you and you keep playing, you're gonna lose
Mm.
MMR pretty
Oh,
darn
for
quick.
sure. For sure.
So
Sure.
PSA for all those people out there: if you want to gain MMR, don't play when you're angry. Play when you're happy. And
Yeah.
as well as that, just take it easy. Don't play 10 games a day. It's not gonna work. Trust me, it's faster to just play a few games, win those few games, and then just log off. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Maybe you'll
there
be back as well, John. I mean, I know you've been saying to me that if if the battle pass came out, you'd be back. You know,
probably, yeah, more than
because you
likely.
love your
Like most of my friend
cosmetics.
list would be back. Oh yeah. Definitely. That's half the reason I play. Because for me, in stark contrast to you, I climbing MMR is a tedious process, right?
It
Like
is.
I'm the kind of guy who would get super demotivated after losing. So if I was to try to grind, like the moment I lose, I would stop for the most
Yeah.
part. But I play like something like 2 games and stop, and it's just super slow. And every time when you're thinking about just climbing, just trying to win every single game, it's a stressful process to play those games. It's not fun when you're constantly in that mindset of trying to prove something. So it's not a worthwhile way of playing. Like the times when I play the most, like I'd play 10 games a day, was when I would just stick with normal matchmaking. I made a lot of friends that way. We'd all be
Yeah.
in comps. We do yeah, that's the time when you could play off lane, undying solo, and people would be like, "Wow, you just got triple kill." You know, those were fun times, and that's for me what has been missing from playing the game itself. Like I still get that every now and again, but a lot of the people I know who play now are just basically try-harding more, when the more casual ones have moved on. Again, because of the state of the game. Like a lot of them just don't like how the game is now. So for me, the social aspect of playing Dota 2 has kind of faded away. I mean, I would play with you, but we've tried that several times, and the latency for either of us, me going to Australia, you going to sea, has been terrible. We even had a case where we abandoned the game because we accidentally searched in sea. So it just doesn't work out too well cross regionally for us, unfortunately.
Well, the funny thing was those lines between SCA and Australia were pretty bad. Like out of nowhere, we were talking about this. I don't know how many months
Mm,
ago it is now, but we were saying, well, what happened? Suddenly the ping spiked up from, you know, it was for me it was less than 100, and then all of a
mm.
sudden I'm looking at 250. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and it was like, what happened? It looks like it's gone back to normal though. Just so you know, John, I was playing a game in
Okay.
C the other day. I've been playing with the ESL India boys.
Oh,
Uh, I've been playing
okay.
with your boy Hayes. Yeah.
With
Shout out to
Hayes, all
Hayes, by
right.
the way. He should never thanked me for carrying him. I mean, it was just, I was playing Earth Spirit back when it was still good. On
Yeah.
the SEA server, just dominating people. I mean, they were just so upset, right? Because I've noticed SEA people, John, they don't know how to play against Earth Spirit. It seems like nobody
Hmm.
there plays ES. Just
Yeah,
nobody knows
yeah.
what's going on.
Sure.
And I just destroyed them. It was just
Oh yeah.
simple as that, John. So Hayes got some free MMR from me. He never thanked me, which was very rude. Hayes, if you're
Oh
listening,
god.
still waiting for my thank you, sir. Uh, yeah, maybe we will be able to play because, like I said,
Oh hey.
the SEA to Australia line or whatever the fuck it is finally seems to have gotten back to the way it should be. Uh, I don't know.
Well,
I know
that's
you're gonna
good.
wait for the battle pass anyway. I know you're not really in a big
More than
rush.
likely. No, no. Like I mean, my boys are out, you know? It's like Witch Doctor's not there, Warlock's not there, Lion's not there, even
Lion was
Shadow
never
Shaman's
there,
kind
John.
of not there.
Lion
But
was never
he
there.
was there years ago. Years ago. He's look, I used to be rank 1000 Lion player, okay?
Did you
According to
really?
Open Dota, yeah. According to Open Dota, I was a top 900 or something. Lion player
Well,
was a top 500 Undying player. But Open Dota's stats are kind of weird,
okay,
so they're really not
Undying I can
trustworthy.
respect, but Lion is it just upsets me, John. When my support picks Lion, I just feel like killing myself immediately. I'm like, what are
You
you gonna
should.
do in
You
what are
should.
you gonna
You
do in
should.
the lane? Like you're gonna hit them
Nothing.
with your garbage attack animation, and then you're gonna maybe use your Earth Spike, which they never do, by the way.
Yeah, they never do.
They never do it, and then they'll mana drain as if they need the mana, as if that's helping me somehow. You know? Uh,
Ah,
yeah.
he's just sad. Lion's just a very sad guy. He needs help. He needs serious help. I mean,
Well,
to be fair, if you can win with Lion, like I saw a clip of like was it Bulldog watching S4 play Lion, and he had the Sand King level 6 running up to him. You know, he was playing support Lion, and he got jumped, and he's like, "No, you're not gonna kill that Lion." And you know, you can still do impressive stuff. Then again, that was years ago when Lion was still somewhat relevant, so that's not really a great example.
well,
Oh
someone in
man.
the chat has said that's Australian Dota in a nutshell. Thank you, Habib of Centrelink. Thanks, Habib. The Because he's brought that up, John. This is probably the perfect moment to say that, in case you weren't aware, there is now a new Oceanic League, John.
Mm,
Uh,
mm.
I believe they're. Let me just look this up on Twitter because you should go follow if you are here. But I'm pretty sure it's Oceanic Esport. Yeah, Oceanic Esport GG. It's a new Oceanic League for Australia, naturally, and New Zealand. And basically, what's happened is I believe they've picked a few, like 10 players or something as captains, and then those captains are able to draft out of a player pool. So
Mm,
there's no real set teams. It was basically like you draft your players, and so the teams are very unique. And essentially, the point is to not necessarily bring attention to the Australian scene, but as you may have noticed, John, we don't exactly get much support,
mm,
right? Which is the main reason why the Oz scene's kind of hasn't gone anywhere.
yeah.
Because we don't really have any support. We don't have any leagues going on. We don't have many lands going on.
Mm,
Um, and so people were starting to take it into their own hands. Ex Musica, an ex pro player.
mm.
You should know of him, John. He was at, I believe it was TI2. He was there. Uh, he's the one hosting essentially this league, and we'll be casting it tomorrow. And
Oh
it
yeah.
should be a very very entertaining experience to say the least. Let me tell you, John, if you thought SEA chat was bad, boy oh boy, you're gonna find out there's a worse one than SEA. I mean, Australians they are harsh, John. If they don't like you, they really don't like you. So we're probably gonna get massacred, you know, especially
Oh
because
god.
of my accent, right? Because I don't have that pure Australian, white accent. I've got the Middle Eastern Australian accent. So usually, there's a few questions going on as to why is this guy casting Australian Dota. I was born here, so fuck you, you racist pieces of shit. All right.
Oh
Um,
god. Oh god.
but yeah,
Uh,
so if you aren't aware of what Oz Dota's like, I promise you it is extremely entertaining. Uh, Absolute bloodbaths, John. I mean, they just
okay.
don't care, and it's pretty high level stuff. I would say Oz players are some of the best in the world. You've got to give them a chance. Like, who would have thought that when OG picked up Anna, who would have thought he would have been the best POS one player in potentially Dota history?
Mm.
Who would have thought that? Just some
Not many
ski-
people.
just some kid from Melbourne, you know, doesn't say a word, looks shy as fuck, looks like he's half asleep when he's playing the games, doesn't practice, watches Gordon Ramsay videos, you know. Who would have thought that guy was going to be the one of the best players in Dota history?
Not many people, man.
Do I
But
have
he
to bring up
is.
KP? Do I have to bring up
No.
KP and that time where
His sick
Newbie kicked
burns.
him out? Yeah, Newbie
No.
Newbie kicks him out, and then what happened to Newbie, John? Irrelevant. They're irrelevant, John. As soon as KP left the team, suddenly Newbie was absolute trash. Just
Oh
garbage.
yeah.
We need more
I
Australians, John. We need more.
We definitely do, and I'm hoping we're gonna see like I've only seen a couple of matches. Like we covered a couple of games for what was it, the live event you went to, Mike? What was it called?
Convictus.
Yeah, we covered some of the group stages of Convictus before, and I did get to see, I believe, KSY
Mm,
play. That was Calvin and Miguel and
yeah.
Godot and Matino. So, and even Corrosive, and that's why his name is familiar. Corrosive was there.
Yeah,
So I
corrosive.
have managed to see that. I know Calvin is an insane Terrorblade player, and I know that's memed a lot in chat. Every single time, it's like, if he gets his Terrorblade, it's amazing. If it's not, then chat starts wailing on him for not
Yeah.
playing Terrorblade. So that's gonna be fun to watch.
Speaking
Oh
of,
man.
we're gonna have run into a few issues again, John, because you just pronounced a certain player's name the correct way, and some people think it's you're pronouncing it the wrong way. Uh, Australian people think Miguel is pronounced Miguel, which is a real problem because the one time we said Miguel, we got into a bit of trouble with the chat. The chat wasn't too happy with that, John. They were like, no, it's pronounced Miguel, and it's like, well, no, it's actually pronounced Miguel. We've actually asked him in the lobby how to
Hmm.
pronounce it. I believe he is also from the Philippines, John.
Yep.
So
That he is.
you would know
So
how
I
to
would know.
pronounce it.
I would
You
know.
would know. But apparently
Absolutely.
we were wrong according to chat. I refuse to pronounce his name incorrectly. So I'm going to
Aye.
continue saying Miguel until
Yeah.
everyone understands how it's actually pronounced.
Oh yeah.
God help me, John. I will open up the lobby, put it on the stream, and ask him so everyone can see how it's pronounced.
Oh yeah.
And
I
knowing
mean,
my
it's like
luck, yeah,
it's his real name. You know, it's like it's not spelled that way. Like you spell it, like any what Latino would spell it, Miguel. And how do you say that? Miguel.
Yeah,
How is it spelled? Miggel. Miguel. That's still Miguel to anyone who can speak Latino names, pronounce Latino names, Latino sounding names.
yeah.
For me, it was straightforward. I was very confused as to why people would think it's Miggle. Like, who in God's right mind would call themselves Miggle? It sounds like a giggle, but slightly
No,
more flamboyant.
it is a thing Australians and New Zealanders do tend to call themselves online, believe it or not. I'm not sure where it came
Seriously?
from. Really?
Miggle? That
Yes.
it sounds so weird, man. It sounds like a Moogle from Final Fantasy, but worse.
Well, I don't
Uh,
know where it came from. I just know that it's there. I had a friend once that called himself Miguel online, and I don't know why. I don't know where it came from, but it came from somewhere apparently. We have gone a bit off
well,
topic though, John. Uh, I'd like we've talked about
hmm
Valorant, talked about how
yep.
it's probably going to be. Wait, can we just finish off on Valorant? People are saying it's going to kill CS:GO. If you think Valorant is going to kill CS:GO, you're an idiot.
Oh man. Oh
It's
yeah,
not
absolutely.
touching CS:GO. Like
No.
it may take maybe I don't know 10% of the player base, maybe 10%. And I mean, I'm stretching it at that point, John. It's
Mm.
I don't know who it's taking. I think it's just Riot fanboys that it's taking. Maybe Overwatch players because their game's
Mm.
garbage. You
Oh
know,
yeah. Probably yeah.
CS:GO though, forget about it.
No. No.
And
I
if it
mean,
did, Valve would easily release a new CS:GO, a new CS game, and it would be like, well, there's Valorant gone. Get in
yeah.
the water
Pretty
again.
much. Pretty much. Like they're already lining up for a Source 2 release. There are mentions in the Steam DB about assets towards a Source 2 release of CS:GO because Alex came out. This is all tied to Alex, right? So
Yeah,
Source 2 originally came out for us in the Dota 2 community because Gaben loves us, right? So we got Source 2 first and got to play with all of its rich features, its optimizations, its OpenGL integration. It took a while for them to make those feature sets work in a VR game, which is Alex. And since it's on VR and that was a first person game, of course, it's going to be transitioning to CS fairly soon. I think they're actually going to be timing it around whenever Valorant gets
I love
mainstream
that.
release. I think that's going to be the key thing for Valve, and I think they're going to do that.
Yeah,
And
then
once
the
that's out, a lot of feature sets would be easier. Hopefully, spectating is easier because we see it in chat all the time in the ESL Indian Premiership, right? Like, there's
yeah,
always chat about spectating. Hopefully, that does get fixed up with Source 2.
yeah, and then all the Riot fanboys will be like, "Oh, Valve, they're copying, they're trying to copy Valorant." Like, listen, you stupid little 12-year-olds, shut your damn mouth. CS has been around for that long. CS has been around longer than I was around, John. I was
Oh yeah,
born after the first CS was out. I mean, it's just. I hope they do. I really hope they do. Just fuck Valorant. It looks like a garbage
definitely.
game to me. It looks like like I would flush it down the toilet. That's what I would do with Valorant. It looks garbage. Uh,
Yeah.
if you can't design your own game, then don't release any games. Simple as that. Moving on to the next topic, though, John, because I get a bit overboard when I start talking about Riot games. I start to get a little bit tilted, you know. I
Mm.
like to talk about. You did mention Elix. I wanted to bring this up.
Yeah.
According to Steam charts, the
hmm
peak players on Elix were 16,500 players.
Yeah.
You liked the game. It looked like a
Love it.
fantastic game.
hmm
But that VR feature, John, it seems to
hmm
be affecting how many players are buying into the game. And personally, I would like to play the game.
hmm
I can't because I don't have a VR headset. What do
I
we do?
think I think you have to accept it. Like you have to accept this. This is the way Valve wants to take Half Life. The concurrent numbers sound bad on paper. You have to consider the VR numbers before. These are the biggest VR numbers ever. Like bigger than Boneworks, bigger than any major release. It is more than likely for a lot of people the first actual major release for VR is Alex. And I think again, I still think it's great. There has been a mod if you really want to play it. There has been a mod making it work with regular 2D assets, like regular flat screen gameplay, and I have to say it's not impressive. It's not a great game in that aspect. Like you strip out its VR and how Valve integrated a lot of its gameplay there. It's poorly paced. I think that's the one key thing because of how movement works in Alex. and how the pacing is there. As a traditional FPS, it's actually it does not like this is something that Valve talked about as well in one of their interviews. One of their engineers were like, if people will try to mod this into a regular game, and they'll figure out very quickly why we can make it regular because it's not unique. I'll be frank. Like if you actually take away a lot of interactivity that VR gives you and just strip it down, it's a very dry game based on what I've seen and based on what I can see from that transition. Sure, the numbers now are low, but you have to see that steady rise again in VR. Alex has brought a lot up. Like the Oculus Quest has been sold out for months now. The Index has been on back order as well. You've got supply line issues playing into that with the coronavirus, of course, but for the most part, it is on the rise. And if Alex is the start, Alex is the start of actual experiences designed around that technology. And you don't need to go too far back when this kind of requirement was there. Like 3D accelerated cards were not always a thing. And when games started requiring them, especially with like Doom 1, and there was a lot of uproar. People wanted it ported to weaker systems, but you had to get a 3D accelerated card to play further. And at some point, that just became the norm. I'm not sure if VR would be the norm, but you have to accept that there are experiences being made just for that specific way of playing now.
But I mean, like Half-Life 3 comes out,
Hmm.
and you get these kind of player numbers. Is that not a bit, demotivating for Valve? Like, is it?
No, no,
No, you
not at
don't think
all.
so?
No,
I think
I
it's a bit
don't.
depressing.
Valve doesn't care about them. Valve cares about creating great experiences. And
I
I know
see.
that sounds weird when you compare that to Artifact, because if someone tries to convince me Artifact was a convincing gameplay experience, they'd get laughed at. But
Hmm.
Valve, at least with Alex, at least with Half Life, has always aimed to do something different with each iteration. Half Life 1 was the first kind of game where you had a lot of interactivity with the world, and you could actually move through the scripted sequences yourself. It was pretty freeform for an FPS. Half Life 2 had a lot of physics integration with Source. That was the game that kicked off the Source engine. And that's when you saw a lot of ragdoll effects, interactive water, the systems they had in place for Source that stayed for many years on.
Right.
And Alex is just the start of interactivity, thinking about games in a different dimension, thinking about how a player moves around an actual space, an actual physical space, and how it relates to a different control scheme and way of seeing. I think it's something that does not translate to a regular gaming experience.
I see. All right. Well, I don't really have much to say about Alex. All I know is I wanted to play it. I can't play it. It's kind of disappointing. Uh, I don't know. I hope Valve doesn't start turning all their games into VR. Right? Like, it's cool and all that it's going to be the future or whatever, but I don't know. Like, you're not going to release like the next CS:GO and CS in VR, are you? Like, that's
No,
just no. You wouldn't, right? Like, that's kind of
no,
ridiculous.
no. I mean, it's a separate space. Like
Right.
the requirements for a good play space in VR is very different from what's a good play space in a regular game. Like the mechanics of CS just wouldn't work. It would be a very different set of mechanics you'd be testing in something like CS. I could see them making a fork, but not something exclusively VR. Like they could make a version of it for VR. You already have something like that called Pavlov, and it's actually really fun. It's not very polished, but it's a very fun experience. Like you actually have to aim down the sight, magnification, with a sniper rifle. You'd actually have to look through the scope while also keeping your left eye open, your peripheral vision open, like an
Wow.
actual shooter would. And it's very different, but it's not the same. And I don't see them making competitive games like that on its own fork. I can't see their next project outside of Half Life. I think their next project would be something like Left 4 Dead, because
All
there
right.
were there were already mentions of that before in their production backend in SteamDB. I wouldn't be surprised if Left 4 Dead VR got resurrected.
Who knows? I imagine it would at some point by Valve. Well, that's enough of VR though. It was something I wanted to talk about, and I seem to have complete. No, that's what it was. Artifact, John. Uh,
Ah,
they
Artifact.
released an update as to what they're up to, and they said that they want to hear from the public. They want to understand what went wrong the first time. They want
Hmm.
feedback, John. And I thought this would be a great time for us to talk about our grievances with the game. Now, you never played the game yourself,
Yeah, I never did. No,
so you can't really talk too much about the actual gameplay.
no.
Uh, but you can tell me why you didn't even buy the game in the first place. I mean, Valve needs the feedback, John. And you have the accessibility now to send them an email and tell them what the problem was.
Oh, for me, it was just the cost. I'm from Southeast Asia. I'm from the Philippines. I don't have much money, contrary to what you may think casters make. I don't have a lot of money, so investing in, I would have bought it. Like, I'll be frank, I would have bought Artifact at $20 if I did not have to buy booster packs, if I did not have to depend on the Steam market to complete card collection. Right? This is what they advertised, that initially, that you would not need to do that, but it ended up being that way. It ended up a lot of prices being set by the Steam market initially, and I didn't want to take that gamble. I already knew what Hearthstone was like. I already knew how much money it would take to actually keep up with that. And at the very least, Hearthstone had like bots you could play with, although that wasn't compelling. I knew how uncompelling that experience is. I did not want to experience that in Artifact. And like card games, as we mentioned, were already niche. Like the systems in
Mm.
place, some of them aren't very straightforward to play. Like Magic the Gathering is probably one of the deeper ones that are easy to jump into, and even then, I can't really be bothered learning. To be frank, like I would, but it's a lot to learn for a first time player. Artifact kind of looked like the same thing. You had this concept of lanes, which doesn't exist in any other game, which is fine. Like you want to branch out, you want to make it different. You had hero colors as well. You had minions, you had items, you had hero combinations to worry about, which lane you're going to. It had a lot going on that
Too much.
scared a lot of people off. Yeah.
I can tell you, John, I played the game. I was one of the people that bought the game, and I, for a day or two, believed in it. I thought maybe
Mm,
this could work. I saw the player numbers going up, and I was happy. Because, I'm a Valve fanboy. I'm going to admit it. I
mm,
like Valve. I like the way they do
mm.
shit. I like their games. You're a Valve fanboy as well, John.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah.
and I don't know, the game, it felt fun for about a day. I did play Hearthstone before, and I can tell you Hearthstone felt a lot more fun for a lot longer of a
Mm,
time.
yeah.
It was simpler, it was much more casual, which I'm not saying Artifact should go in the casual direction. I'm saying though that if you expect people to get into a card game that they have to pay for when there's so much competition out there already,
Yeah.
into a, and the theme is Dota, which, we're not, as popular as we may be in Dota, we're not really as popular as something as like League of Legends or, the Blizzard characters or whatever else, right? It was just too much. And the game wasn't fun enough. It was too
Oh yeah.
complicated. Like I'm playing three lanes at once,
Mm,
and then I still don't understand how the game was working. Like, till this day, I don't know why the game did what it did. I don't know why the cards would get laid out in a certain spot and certain creeps could only attack in certain directions. And it was just, and there was no tutorial. There was no proper way of learning the game.
yeah.
I mean, if you're going to release a card game that complicated, like, you've got to provide a tutorial. I know you got away with it in Dota 2.
Uh,
In Dota 2, you never provided a tutorial. You got away with it. Artifact, it's not gonna work. I mean, if you're gonna make it hard and complicated like that, you've got to fucking tell people how to fucking play the game.
yeah.
You've got to
Definitely. I mean,
you got to tell them how to play the game.
it's not comparable to any other system. That's the major issue. You jump in, and there is something to be said about learning on the fly. A lot of well-designed games do let you learn on the fly without any set tutorial. I think one is kind of like Breath of the Wild is not as invasive. Games like that, but a card game where it's run by mechanics, by very solid mechanics that you always try to push the limits of. It's run by a rule set. You really have to teach people that rule set, otherwise it gets confusing. At the very least, my major grievance with the pay in is potentially gone. I mean, Valve makes it sound like it's going to be free to play with no card packs,
Even if
so
it is,
that's
I don't know if
that's
that's gonna
one
be the
thing.
game changer. I don't know if it's
No,
gonna change
probably not.
anything.
I mean,
Because
the issue is people know what it's like now. It's like,
it's
people know
got a
what the
bad
game
rep.
is.
It's got a
Yeah,
bad rep. That's the problem. Like I think it's gonna have an initial burst again, but I think it's too complicated. I think it's And the whole 3 lane system, I mean, it's just ugly, John. I gotta tell you, it just doesn't fit. It really doesn't. It doesn't
Mm.
work. It just doesn't look nice. Like it. What is this? Tostress has provided a link. What is?
This is the what is it? What is it? Still doing three
Oh,
lanes? Okay, they dove deeper
okay.
into the
Well,
production. Okay,
this is live. Thank you, Tostress, by the way. So now we've got live news as to what's going on with. Yeah, this was actually released today. About
yeah, 5 a.m.
what?
my time.
Right.
So like 7 hours ago.
So
Huh.
they're still doing
I mean,
3 lanes, and well, I haven't read it. We probably should leave this for now because it looks
mm,
like it's going to take too much time to understand, and we're going to just drag this out going, ah. But it still seems complicated. Just judging by the photos they're putting there, it looks a little bit complicated.
it does. I mean, again, it's just not a pick up and play game. You compare that to, there are arguments to be made that MTG is kind of complicated, sure, but after a while, you grasp it relatively quick with the energy system. A good example of a streamlined version of that would be the Pokemon game. That's actually the Pokemon card game is actually pretty much like a fork of MTG. Then you have stuff like Gwent, which is relatively straightforward after a couple of games as well. It feels like with all the systems and subsystems Artifact has, it takes more than that. Like Dota 2 takes a lot more than just a couple of games to learn as well, but you get the fundamentals down, You click, the hero moves, it's basic. There all the smaller things you have to learn are like finer details to improve that, finer details to improve your game sense, to improve your movement or where you want to go. But the basics of controlling your hero, straightforward enough. Artifact, I think is you wouldn't even know how to get your first hand out optimally after. It's like I don't know. It doesn't look any more accessible, but we'll see as it goes. Of course, this is still very early news for them. They're just trying to be more transparent, which props to Valve. They
Hmm.
have been a bit louder in that sense, except for CS:GO. So a lot of people there aren't happy, unfortunately.
Fuck
But they've been
CS:GO.
louder elsewhere.
They can just
Aw, come on.
they can keep their mouths shut, John.
They deserve something after all these years, right? Although to be fair, like honestly, I want to talk about CS:GO just for a bit. You Valve actually being this involved in CS:GO this much long is a surprise because you remember CS:GO wasn't originally a Valve game. It was licensed by Valve, made by Hidden Games, Hidden Path Games or something. They weren't the original developers. They took over after a while and it really took off from there. What I reckon with Source 2, just going back to that, is this will give Valve a lot more to play with. It's pretty much almost like a rework from the ground up. At the very least, they're going to be much more familiar with the issues players are having. Whether or not you're going to get 1 to 8 tick servers up in the air because Valve doesn't seem to think that's an issue. But hey, Valve is louder now at least.
Yeah, I mean, props that they are communicating more. And I do like that. I do think CSGO, I mean, all jokes aside, CSGO needs a bit of love. Like, they got that Shattered Web update. Then they have that I don't play CSGO personally. I have played, but I'm not very good at the game, so I'm not, I'm a
Mm,
casual CSGO player.
mm.
And they've changed the meta recently, which everyone would seem to be decently happy about. It's a pretty fucking big game, Valve. Maybe
Mm,
you should put some love behind it. Like, I always wondered to myself, why not have a TI for CS:GO? Like
mm,
it's they've got the major system.
mm.
But it's like why not just have that one big tournament? Like
Yeah.
every year the one thing everyone looks forward to in Dota is TI. We
Mm.
all tune into the majors and the minors and whatever else. But God knows when TI comes around, that's when you're taking the week or two off. You're
Oh yeah.
staying home.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh
tell
yeah.
the wife, like, listen, I'm not going to talk to you for a week, right? You go do whatever. Here's my wallet. Go do whatever you want. I'm gonna sit here and watch TI, right?
Yeah.
But it's CS:GO doesn't have that. I've always wondered why not. It's a huge FPS game. It's the biggest in my opinion.
Mm, mm. I think the thing is that I'm going to say this and it's going to sound funny, but you have to remember Valve for all the money it makes is still a small company in terms of manpower. Right? Like I mean, they make a shit ton of money, but they don't really have too much staff. We're talking about a company of what, 500 people for a game played by for 2 games played by 1 million people each with a
Yeah.
store that has 20 million people active at the same time. thing with Valve's numbers are it's always concurrent. So Steam users, when they say like 20 million people were online, that's at once. I'm sure they have a bigger user base than what people report. They just never report their actual total. It's not like Riot. But the number of people working in Valve relative to their game sizes are small. And if you look at TI, that's nearly everyone at Valve getting involved. I don't think they have enough manpower to get that deeply involved in multiple productions in a year. I think that's the main thing holding Valve back. I would be interested to see them just maybe loosen up in that, like sponsor a big tournament, but you know, be hands on. You don't need as much manpower. Just trust. I don't know. PGL is really good with production in
PGL's
every
good.
single tournament. Like, just
Yeah.
give them a lot more and just help them out. But you don't need to be as directly involved, or you don't need to commit as much manpower if that's really their worry. But I would like to see CS:GO get a lot more love. I mean, you talk about prize numbers with Dota 2; they're big, but they've been eclipsed by FPSs. They've been eclipsed by Fortnite is one. I'm sure Valorant's going to try to work something in as well because they're already touting its esports scene. It's not even out yet, guys. What
Yeah.
esports scene? It's in beta. This is the state of the world we're in today for video games. That a game in beta has an esports scene. Remember PUBG? Remember when that was an alpha
Oh,
and
I
it had
remember
its first
PUBG.
tournament? Oh my god, that was a mess.
PUBG. What a game. Uh,
Ah,
we should talk about that next week, actually. The rise and fall of PUBG. Because,
oh
man,
yeah, that would be a good
you
talk.
know me, we both got very upset with the way that game was going. I mean, that was just a fucking joke. As Dr.
That it
Disrespect
was.
says, is it Blue Balls Entertainment? Is that them?
Yeah, blue
Yeah,
balls,
Blue Balls
blue balls,
Entertainment.
entertaining.
Yeah. Idiots. Absolute
Oh,
idiots. I mean, you found a gold mine and then you just blew it up. I mean, you
oh yeah.
literally blew it up. Like you just said, "Nah, we don't want all this free gold. We don't
No.
want this money," you know?
No.
And then you just ruined it. Apart from that though, John, I did say that this week's podcast isn't going to be quite as long because I do have some family stuff going on that I need
Mm.
to attend to, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there was something else we were meant to talk about to finish this off. And I apologize, it is a bit rushed this week. Uh, but like I said, there's some issues going on that I have to sort out. But next week should be back to normal. In fact, I'll just
Mm-hmm.
ask you, John,
Uh-huh.
is there anything you wanted to talk about? Is there anything left for you to talk about this week?
Specifically this week that we haven't really touched yet. Um, Not much really. No. I think I think
Fine.
the thing is like maybe something about real world. So my city's actually doing well with Corona now. Like we for a couple of days we've had very little cases. It hasn't been a rise.
Hmm.
Although we are doing severe contact tracing now because of there again, those people in the cock betting scene, a lot of people are being traced now because it's spread all over the island. We're a pretty big island, so it's spread all over now. So that's it. But our city itself doesn't have too many cases on the rise. I'm not sure if that's going to stabilize, but we are looking at maybe an extended community quarantine. Right now, we're in enhanced community quarantine, which is a meme in itself. But
Yeah.
we might see a downgrade, but we're still going to be under quarantine. So a bit looser, still going to be really tight for probably the next month at
Okay.
this end.
All right. We've actually been going down quite a lot as well. I believe my state in particular now has less than 100 coronavirus what do you call them? I guess victims, like not
Cases,
cases, right? We've
cases.
got we've got
Mm,
a, we've got less than 100 now. I think it was at 60 something.
mm.
Um, so it looks like this whole lockdown stuff is gonna probably end relatively soon. They'll probably still kind of like not open up everything. They'll probably take it very very
Yeah,
slowly.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
The
like
thing is,
now,
though, it's like you look at like Korea, where their cases have stabilized for a while because of their insane amount of tests. You are seeing a rise in recurring people. So I think with that knowledge, Korea has recurring cases. China's receiving a second wave. And I think the big one has been Korea because that was like the miracle story where they had thousands in a day. They have kind of stabilized. It's still pretty high, but they've stabilized it and now they're recurring. So I think that's a trend that we will have to look for, which means we could potentially still be seeing fairly long, like downgrades to how extreme the quarantine is, but it's still going to be there, I think, for the foreseeable near future.
right. Well, I hope they sort it out. I hope we all sort it out. It's always sad to see people die. It's not a
Mm.
good thing. Looks like everyone's starting to get it under control, apart from maybe America. I've heard New York is still getting ravaged by it, which is terrible news. Could potentially be because they didn't really sort it out when it first started, but you know, that's that's political conversation. We don't really want to talk politics on the
No,
podcast because
not too much.
yeah,
Nah,
uh,
we could go on about it though.
no, we could, but yeah,
Rather
it's.
not.
I'd rather not talk politics when people are dying. Is what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
it's
It's
not
not
worth it.
good. Like there are
No,
bigger things at play here. It's like
yeah.
you should put that aside and just focus on getting things done.
Yeah, it's hopefully. I do hope the people of America do have it sorted out sooner rather than later. It looks pretty terrible over there. I never would have thought, of all places, it would be there. That
Honestly, I think would have been expected. Like the major hotspots have been LA and NYC, and again, both of those areas are really major hubs. Like it would have been very hard to implement any sort of contact tracing anywhere in the
mm,
first place. And even the moment when they did impose very limited travel and impose their early warnings, there's only so much you can do because people are still going to do stuff if they really want to do dumb stuff. They will do dumb stuff.
that is true. People can be pretty fucking stupid. That's for sure. As they are in Australia, John, where they're still going and attending the beaches and
Seriously?
yeah,
After all these weeks?
yeah, in the
Jeez.
middle of fucking autumn, John. And
Great weather for the beach.
it goes to prove a point. You tell people they can't do something, guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna go
They're
fucking
gonna.
do that exact same thing you told them not to do. You
Oh
know?
man.
It's just can't you idiots sit at home? I mean, Jesus, I mean, we got some nice beaches here, John, but
Mm.
it's a beach. Like it's a beach, It's I don't know. I said it the other week. Jump in the shower. It'd be basically the same thing anyway. You want the waves? Get in the bathtub. Just push the water around a little bit. It'd be amazing. Trust me. You want that salt water taste? You know what to do. Get a bag of salt.
Cook some
Apart,
pasta in that tub as well.
why not? May as well start cooking in it. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Apart
Absolutely.
from that, John, I'm gonna have to call it at that. It's been a pleasure as always. We'll be back next week. Next week we'll go back to normal, where we'll have an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of a podcast, and we'll probably be a little bit more structured next week.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's always been a pleasure, John. Of course, if you do enjoy us, we are on Twitter. Other than that, they can see the Twitter handles on the
Mm.
screen, so I don't really need to say them every time. But you should come join us for that Oceanic League as well. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll be there tomorrow. I'll be posting a Twitch link up on Twitter tomorrow when we are going to go live. So if you wanted to catch us there, just kind of keep an eye out on Twitter. You'll see it very, very soon. John, anything else to say before we head off?
Now, hopefully everyone has a good time. Stay safe in these strange times and stay indoors. Don't go to the beach. Don't be silly. Just have fun with video games. We'll be
Yeah,
back again. A lot more games to come out as well. So it's gonna be a fun time.
yeah. All right, we'll see you all then. Thank you for tuning in. See you guys next time.